Hello friends, welcome to my YouTube channel. Today we are starting lecture number 1, that is Introduction to C language. This is one of the most important lecture of whole C language course. We know that well begun is half done. I will say if you do this particular lecture, it is almost 90% done with the C language. So let's start with the C language. As you know, C is a programming language and it is developed at AT&T's Bell Laboratory of USA in 1972. It was developed by a guy named called Dennis Ritchie. He designed it, written it single-handedly. In late 1970s, C began to replace the more familiar languages of that time, like Algol, PLI, B language, Fortran, etc. Why C seems so popular? Because it is reliable, simple, and easy to use. While we are training, we'll see that the C language is very simple, easy to use. It is easier than learning English language. So in an industry where newer languages, tools, technologies, they are emerges and they vanish day in, day out. The language, C language, that has survived more than 5 decades and it is going on. One author said that C has been already superseded by languages like C++, C hash, and Java. So these are the languages that are born after C language. Why we need to learn a C language? Because as a computer guy or electronic guy, you need to understand the concept behind it. As you know that a computer, it always speak with the language. So that language is called as a binary language. We can say zeros and ones. So immediately we'll rule out the English as the language of the communication. So communicating with the computer, that requires a language called a binary language, and C itself is doing that job. So if you have to learn the C language, there is analogy between learning English language and learning C language. So as you know, the classical method of learning English is when we are born, our mom and dad, they are started repeating the sentences words to us so that we can learn the new words, new sentences. Or we can say, if we understand the things, the names, we first learn alphabets that is used in that particular language. Then we combine them to form a words and then in turn combine to form a sentences. So the sentences, they are combined to form a paragraph. Then we'll learn English language. So before going with this classical method, we need to go with the dictionary. We have to read or memorize all the words, that is the names given to the things, objects or the persons. Then and then only we can learn the English language. Similarly, in case of a C language, it is very easier. Instead of straight away learning how to write the programs, how to develop the what we call softwares, we must know that the basic things are important, like the English language alphabets. So in this case of C, we need to understand what alphabets are, what numbers and what special symbols are used. So these are the alphabets in English language. In case of C language, we have alphabets, numbers and special symbols. Then how we using them to form a constant, to form a variables and to form a keywords. So the constant variables keywords, they are constructed by using these alphabets, numbers and special symbols. So as like it's forming a word. And finally, we are going to combine them to form an instruction. We can say a sentence. And the group of instruction that will be combined later to form a program, we can call it as a paragraph in case of a C language. So similarly, we need to understand alphabets, numbers and special symbols. So the basic thing is that if you see the keyboard, or we can say keypad on your laptop or desktop, the keypad itself suggests that these are the alphabets, numbers and special symbols that are used in a C, because Dennis Ritchie has that much source available at that time. So the alphabets, numbers and special symbols are nothing but the keys on the keyboard. So by using them, we have to form a constants, variables and keywords. These are the words actually in the English language. Then we have to form instruction by using them, and then the group of instruction will be a program. So now the remaining thing is a logic. As you guys know that we are born with the logic. So everybody has their own mindset, own logic. So everybody can be a programmer. Now in case of a C language, we need to understand what is character set. So the character set, or we can say character, that denotes any alphabet, digit or a special symbol used to represent information. So we can see the valid alphabets, numbers and special symbols that are only allowed. So which are the valid alphabets? Capital A, capital B, capital C to capital Z, small a to small z. So I've said that these are on the laptop or desktops keypad symbols, or we can say alphabets. So valid digits, as you know, 0 to 9, these are the valid digits. The valid symbols on the keyboard, if you need to recall all these things, you can press the shift and the near button to 1, you will get the negation symbol, then the 1, shift 1, shift 2, shift 3 up to shift 9, shift 0. These are the all symbols that are available on the keyboard. So these are the valid alphabets, valid digits and valid symbols. So these are the C character sets. So we can say alphabets in C language. Now the remaining thing, how to form a constant, how to form a variables. So these alphabets, numbers and special symbols, when properly combined, so they will form constants, we can say variables and keywords. So we can say in case of English language, these are the words. So what is constant? So constant is an entity that doesn't change. And what is variable? Variable is an entity that may change. So as the name suggests, if you know the basic mathematics, the constant means the constant that are not going to get changed, and variable means variations, they may change. To talk about the constant and the variable, suppose 10 is stored in a memory location. So if you know the concept of a memory, you will understand this particular example. If suppose 10 is stored in a memory location and name x is given to it, then we are assigning a new value to 15. So 10 is replaced by 15 to the same memory location x. So this would override the earlier value 10, as like my age is suppose 30. So in year later it will be a 31. So I'm saying that this is the memory location that will identify my age. As I know, according to artificial intelligence, my age is replaced by the next age, 31. So in this way, the memory locations can be written several times. So we can say, though it is written several times, but that can hold only one value at a time. So we can say that the x that can hold different values, we can say x is a variable. My age is a constant. It was 30, now it is 31. But the memory that I memorize on that particular age, that called as a memory location, and it is changing. So I can say the memory location, the name to the memory location is called a variable, while the value that is put in there, that is called as a constant. So constant is an entity that doesn't change, while the variable that may change. Now the next part from the English language words, in case of C language we have constant, variables and keywords. The keywords, so these are the words whose meaning has already been explained to the C compiler. As like we have the words, we can say keywords, as like in our life we say that this is chair, this is table, this is laptop, this is mic, this is my mobile. So these are the explained to me by someone. These are not going to get changed at all. So in this way, in C language, in C compiler, the C compiler already, that Dennis Ritchie, we can say the programmer already tells the C compiler that these are the keywords. So we can say these are the keywords that are not going to get changed. So the keywords cannot be used as a variable names. we are not going to use it, because if we do, we are trying to assign a new meaning to the keyword, so which is not allowed by the computer. So we cannot say chair and we cannot rename it as a table or computer. So we can say that keywords that are fixed, we are not going to touch it. So some C compiler allows that thing to construct a variable name that is exactly resembles like the keywords, but we should not, because we don't know how the C compilers works. So we need to understand the terms and condition of the C compiler, then and then only we can use the keywords. So as you know, the keywords are also, we can say, reserved words. There are only 32 keywords that are available in a C language. These are the reserved words that is not going to get changed at all when we are doing programming. So how to memorize this keyword? There is no need to memorize it, because as we are growing up, we know the things has the name. As we are studying the C language, we will know how these keywords are. As a human being, we almost knows millions of the names of the things, the friends, the things, the country names. In case of C language, there are only 32 keywords and we are using it again and again and again. After ending this course, you will understand that, or you can directly say that these 32 keywords like auto, double, int, struct, break, else, long, switch, case, enum, register, type, dep, character, external, return, union, constant, float, short, unsigned, continue, for, sign, void, default, go to, size of, volatile, do, if, static, void. So it will be understandable by you when you complete this particular course. Again, the constants, will focus on the constants. Again, there are two major categories of the constant. One is called a primary constant, another one is called a secondary constant. If you know the basic mathematics, you know that the primary constants are integer constant, real constant, and the character constant. Integer constant, as you know, this is most important lecture, because if you miss this lecture, you will miss the entire course. Integer constant, there are some rules for constructing integer constant. The integer constant, if you have to define it, it should be defined like an integer constant must have at least one digit. It must not have a decimal point, because it is integer constant. It can be either positive or negative. If no sign precedes an integer, we can say it is assumed to be a positive. If sign is there, then we'll say it is a positive or negative. No commas or blanks are allowed within an integer constant. The allowable range for integer constant is minus 32,768 to plus 32,767. So from where this magic number comes, so it is nothing but a 16-bit compiler, and if you take 2 raised to 16, it becomes 64,000, and if it is divided into the range, so the minus 32,768 to plus 32,767 including 0, this will be the allowable range because of 2 raised to 16, because we have a 16-bit compiler. If we go for 32-bit compiler, the range will be more. So we can say how to define the integer constant. The example is given like 496. So 496 is an integer constant. Plus 122. So plus sign is there. We can say it is an integer constant. Minus 9012. It will be an integer constant. Minus 4562. It is an integer constant. If you look at this example, the first rule is that it must have at least one digit. So it has. The second, it must not have a decimal point. It has not. There is a sign, we can say either positive or negative. If no sign is there, 496 has no sign, we can say it is a positive. There are no commas, no blanks that are allowed in the integer constant. The commas are given for the separator here. 496 is an integer constant and the range is allowed. So we can say that these numbers are within the range of 16-bit compiler. So You have any like questions? If I have like 1 lakh 100,000, this will be the number. Is that integer constant? I can say for 16-bit compiler it is not. It is beyond the range. We can say it is beyond the range. So we cannot say it is an integer constant. So for 32-bit compiler, 2 raised to 32, that will be a bigger number. I think the 1 lakh will come inside that 32-bit compiler. So we have to keep in mind is that what kind of compiler we are using. So if it is 16-bit, we should stick to the range minus 32,768 to 32,767, and if it is 32-bit, then we can think of it. So basically I think we should stick to the allowable range of 2 raised to 16, that is minus 32,768 to plus 32,767. I am repeating this again and again and again because of this is the most important part in case of a C language rules. So this is for the integer constant rules. Next is a real constant. These real constant are also called as a floating point constant. So we can have two ways to write the floating point constant, or we can say real point constant: fractional form or exponential form. So fractional form, 2.6 is a fractional form, while exponential form means e raised to something, that will be exponential form. So there must be a rule while constructing the real constant that is expressed in a fractional form. So fractional form is very similar to the integer, but we have a different rule for it. So the first rule is that a real constant must have at least one digit, as like integer constant. It must have a decimal point, that is exactly opposite to the integer constant. C, the third rule, it could be either positive or negative, and again we can say the default sign is always positive. If the negative sign is written over there, we can see it is a negative. So no commas or blanks are allowed within a real constant, as like integer constant. Examples are given. You can see plus 325.34. So it satisfies all the rules. You have to check it again and again. Real constant have one digit, decimal point is there, positive or negative, no commas or blanks. That will be rules for the fractional form. The exponential form of representation of real constant is usually used if the value of the constant is either too small, we can say e raised to minus 10, e raised to minus 100, or too large, e raised to 100, e raised to 200, and so on. So there are some rules while constructing the real constant that is expressed in an exponential form. So that has two parts. One part is called Mantissa part, and the other part is called exponential part. We can say exponent part. Where is Mantissa part and where is exponent part? So that is separated by letter E. So before the E, the part is called Mantissa part. After the E, part is called exponential part. So the Mantissa part is same as like your real numbers that are expressed in a fractional form. So the Mantissa part may have a positive or negative sign. Default sign of Mantissa part is positive. Then for the exponenter, the exponent must have at least one digit. Means we can say if e raised to, if you return 0, there should be at least one digit, and which must be positive or negative. If no sign is there, we can say it is positive. So range of the real constants are here is given, that is minus 3.4 e raised to 38 to plus 3.4 e raised to 38. So again, this is depending upon which bit compiler you are using, and the real constant has size that is greater than the integer constant. That's why the real constants are there. So example of the exponential form is that plus 1.9 e raised to minus 8. So there is no raised to the sign because raised to the sign is not in C language. E minus 8 is written, so we can say it as a e raised to minus 8. So here before E, the part is called Mantissa part, and after E, part is called exponential part or exponent part. So the Mantissa part has rules. Yes, this is real number, so default sign will be positive. there will be a decimal point. Then after the exponent part, there must be at least one digit. So we have 8 in there. And if the sign is not there, it will be positive, like 7.9 e raised to 2. So we can say the default sign is positive, minus 0.2 e raised to plus 5. So sign is there, so it is positive. Minus 4.1 e raised to minus 9. So minus 9 means minus sign is there, e raised to minus 9. So this is the way the real constants are. I am again repeating. There are two parts in case of a real constant. One is called fractional part and another one is called exponential part. So exponential part and fractional part, they are almost same. Only different is the exponential part in case of exponential form. So exponential form is there with letter E, and why we are using letter E? Because the number is very large or very small. That's why we have the second real constant part, that is called as exponential form. Now the third thing is that the character constant. So in the constant we have integer, we have real, and the third is character constant. So what is character constant? Character constant is a single alphabet, we can say a single digit, or we can say a single spatial symbol, but that should be enclosed within a single inverted commas. Then we can say it is a character constant. But the thing is that if we enclosed within a single inverted commas, that should be pointed to the left. Then and then only it is said to be as a character constant. As you know, the character constant is a single alphabet or a single digit or a single spatial symbol. So the maximum length of the character constant, 1, only one character. Example is there with the comma that are pointed towards the left. A, we can say 1, we can say 5, but it should be within the inverted commas, and that should be pointed towards the left. Left of whom? Left of us. Then the secondary constants are there. These are the primary constant, integer, real, and character. Secondary constants are there, but they have a very big role in case of C language. So we can say array. Array has a separate topic, separate unit, we can say a separate lecture for it. A pointer, structure, union, enum. So these are the things we are going to see in advanced section. So the types of C variable, as we have seen that the entity that may vary during the program execution is called a variable. So again, the variable names, these are the names given to the locations in a memory. So this location can contain integer, it will contain real numbers, or it will also contain some character constants. So you understand now that the variable is the location in a memory, the name of the location in a memory, and in that memory we are storing the constants that may be integer, real, or character. So in any language, the type of variable that can support depends upon the type of constant that it can handle. As you know, your brain, the part of the brain, some part of the brain is only dealing with the mathematics, some part of the brain is only dealing with the physics, some part of the brain is only dealing with the botany. In this way, in case of C language, our memory locations is dealing with the constants. So we can say that the variable is also have a types, and that depends on the types of constant that it can handle. Only the same type of constant it will handle. So we can say, like, for example, an integer variable that can hold only an integer constant. So we can say a variable in a memory location, it should be of type of integer. So we have to define the type of it, the variable, and then it will hold the integer constant. A real variable means we have to define the type of variable is as real, then it can hold a real constant. And for the character, we have to define it as a character variable, and then inside it we can write a character constant. So this is the very most important point in case of a declaring the C variables. So there are some rules for declaring it, or we can say constructing different types of constant. The constructing variable names of all types of the same set of rules, they are applying for each and everyone. We can say the rule for constructing variable names for integer, for real, and for we can say character, they are all same. So what are they? The variable name, we can say we can write a variable name means a name to the memory location, and that will be any combination of 1 to 31 alphabets. So the length of the variable name should be 31. It may contain alphabets, it may contain digits, or it may contain underscore. Look at, I am not using a special symbol in here. We are going to use only underscore. This is the most important part in case of a C language. When we are declaring the name or we are writing the name to some sort of memory locations, we need only alphabets, digits and underscores. Only of the size of 31. We can start with the 1. Variable should have a name. If I can say A is a variable. So it is 1, and I can say simple interest is a variable. It has some sort of alphabets. The number of alphabets are there. So we can extend it up to 31 alphabets. Some compilers allow variable names whose length could be up to 247 characters. But the 247 characters also contains alphabets, digits and underscore only. In case of a C language, we have a simple rule that do not create unnecessarily long variable names, because as the programmer, we are not going to type all the things. We are not typewriters. So that's why we do not create unnecessarily long variable names. So it will add your typing efforts. So what are the rules? The first rule is that the first character in the variable name must be an alphabet or underscore. I am saying that the variable name is a combination of alphabets, digits or underscores. But the rule is that we start the character, the first character in variable name with an alphabet or underscore, not digits. Digits will be used afterwards. Second, no commas or blanks are allowed within a variable name. So this rule is same for integer, real, character and as well as a variable. No commas, no blanks are allowed within a variable name. No special symbol other than underscore that can be used in a variable name. So I have said that the variable name is having combination of alphabets, digits and underscore of length 31, and the rules are the first character should be alphabets or underscore. Second, no commas or blanks are allowed, and third, only underscore is available from the special symbols. So example is there, PR underscore total. So this is principal total. In case of banking, we can say principal total. So PR underscore total. Underscore is used to indicate that the PR and total, they are different, but the word is, or we can say name is one. If we make a space in there or blanks in there, we can say the violation of rule. It will be treated PR as different and total as different. We'll have a syntax error. We can see that error in our training session. My underscore HRA. So my housing rent allowance. So it will be indicated like my underscore HRA. POP underscore 2001, population 2001. We can say it. So in this way, we can have our variable names. So these rules remain same for all the types of primary and secondary variables. So again, the primary variables are there and secondary variables are there. The rules remain same. So C compiler is able to distinguish between the variable names by making it compulsory for all you to declare the type of any variable name that you wish to use in a program. So this type of declaration is done at the beginning of the program. So if we are writing the program, we should start with the declaration. So at the declaration, which logic we are implementing, that logic has some constants, some variables. So these variables should be declared at the beginning, and this variable should be declared in that logic which type of constants you are using. So that type of variable should be declared at the beginning of the program. So some examples are there. We can see that the simple interest, if I am saying that the interest is 10%, or we can say simple interest is like the addition of principal amount plus the interest, that is will be a simple interest overall. Following are the example of type declaration statements. So we can say integer. So integer is a type of a constant, and SI, it's a simple interest, is a variable name. So variable name has a type int. So in the variable name SI, we have to write the values and it will take int value only. So in case of SI, if I have to write something into SI, SI is the memory location name, as you know, is a variable name, is a memory location name. If we have to put the value of SI as a 1000, so 1000 will be integer only. We cannot write 1000.1 because it is a variable name of type int. Similarly for m underscore HRA, that is called my HRA. So my HRA is also having an integer value. It cannot take the other value like reals and the characters. Float is the real word, or we can say a real constant. Basic is the name, that is not dealing with the Basic function in mathematics. Basic is the variable name. The Basic name has a type called float. So in case of Basic, if I write something to Basic, the memory location name, it should be a float one. Or if I write int into it, it will convert it into float. Like if I am to write something into Basic like a 10, but if I read the Basic from that memory location, it will be 10.0 because it is the type of float. Code is the character type. So code is the memory location where I am going to store only characters. So which character? The inverted wala, same inverted, that is pointing towards the left. A, so A will be stored in a code. So the maximum allowable length of a variable name is 31 character. So the enormous numbers of variable can be constructed using the above mentioned rules. So you can have the freedom to have your variable names in your program, but kept in mind that if we are calculating simple interest, so the variable name should be smaller ones, but it should indicate something to the other. If you are developing a program, or we can say a software, so the team of the, what we can say, the programmers are working on it, so you should have the variable name, it should be understand by the other programmers as well, so that it will be easy them to find out if there are some errors or if the program should be changed. So let's start. As you know the types of the variables, constants and keywords, the next big logical step is a training. Training means start writing your own C programs. So before we begin with our first C program, we have to remember the C program rules as well. So C also has its own rules. So the more and more rules are going on, I recommend you to listen this lecture again and again and again, because I've said that 90% of the work is in this lecture only. If you understand all the concept within this particular lecture, then and then only you can directly write the program. I will give you some exercises that I will definitely say that without this knowledge you cannot do that exercises. If you have the knowledge of all these keywords, constants, variables and their rules, then it will be very useful to solve the exercises. And if you solve the exercises of this lecture, finished, you are the programmer. So before going towards the C programs, there are some rules. What are the rules? So if we know the variables, constants and keywords, the next step is to form instruction. It is very easy to form an instruction. But in case of C language, each instruction is written as a separate statement. So we can say a complete C program that will be comprises of series of statements. It is very simple rule. So we have to write instruction like A is equal to 1. I am assigning the 1 value to A, and this will be an instruction. So where we have to return? We have to return it as a separate statement. That's it. This is just the rule. After writing so many instructions, we'll have set of programs. The second The statement in a program must appear in the same order in which we wish them to be executed. Like your logic. If we have to calculate, as in exercises I have given, if you have to calculate the area of a circle. Now, the area of circle should be calculated like the formula is there, area is equal to pi r square. So what we need is that we need to understand the value of r first. So we have to take the value of r, that is the radius of the circle, and then we have to put the value of that circle radius into the area of circle's formula. Then we'll easily find out the area of the circle. So this should be the logic. So the statement from that logic must appear in the same order in which we wish our logic to be executed. So first value of the radius will be there, and then the value of area we can calculate from the radius value. In some cases we need, means our program or our logic needs some deliberate jump, or we can say transfer of control to a statement which is out of sequence. Then and then only we have to change our order. So it is happen when it will happen, like example for, if our programs has iterations means we have to calculate the simple interest of the given values. After then the manager give us the another set of rules, or we can say set of numbers to calculate the simple interest. Again it is going for 100,000 times. So what we can do, we can have a separate function for it, and we are just transferring the what we can call it as a values from the manager that given us, and we are going to transfer it to the function, and that will return us the values, we can say the results. So there need a deliberate jump, or we can say transfer of control. So this particular thing that will be not covered in this particular lecture, that need another lecture to understand the transfer of control statements. This was the section what we call a B number. So the logic will be there, and that should be in a sequence manner. The C, third, what we can say the rule that the blank spaces must be inserted between two words to improve the readability of the statements. As you know that no blank spaces are allowed within a variable or constant or keywords. Still, we need to insert a blank spaces between the words, as like we are writing English language. As you can see, the word is written, the statement is written, blank spaces may be inserted between two words. There are spaces, right? The blank spaces between the two words. That's why it is very readable. So that's why we have in our program, we should have some blank spaces. I will explain it while we are doing the training session. And the next instruction is all statements are entered in a small case letter. This language is a case sensitive language. If we write the reserved words in a different format like caps, some smalls like even in our English language, will get syntax errors. So these statements are entered in a small case letter. We can use the capital letters. I will explain it while when and where we can use the capital letters, but it should be a good practice to use all statements that is in a small case letters. The next instruction, or we can say the rule, that C has no specific rules. For what? For the position at which a statement is to be written. We can say it is a free form language. So you can start from the first line, first place of the line. You can start in a second place, you can start in a third place, you can start in the middle of the line, you can start it everywhere, but it should be in a sequence manner. And the next rule is that every C statement must end with a semicolon. That semicolon is called as a statement terminator. This is the most important part. That statement terminator should be used when you done with your instruction. Instruction is written, statement terminator called a semicolon. As like we are giving a full stop in a C language, we need to give after the statement ended, we need a semicolon for that. So this is a statement terminator, we can say. So let's start with the programming. So again, some theoretical part for the programming as well. So if we need to find out, or we can say calculate the simple interest. So simple interest has a formula that is called a principal amount into number of years into rate of interest actually divided by 100. So we can say that we have inputs. What are the inputs? The simple interest that we have to calculate is I. The principal amount, we can name it as a P. These are the variable names like, right? Number of years and rate of interest, we can say small r. So I given capital SI. Yes, I've said that the reserve word should be in a small case letters. So capital S, small I, it is a variable name. We can have a variable name of any type, but it should be included everywhere in a program wherever it needed. So capital S, small I is equal to PNR divided by 100. This will be the formula. So this is the formula. This is the logic. What is the logic? We need the value of P, we need the value of N, we need the value of R. Then using a formula, we can calculate SI. So what is P? P is a principal amount. Is principal amount comes within a fraction parts? No. Bank never give us a fractional part. It give us the whole numbers. So we can say P is an integer, right? Then N, number of years. Number of years is always comes with a integer. It is not comes like 1.5 years, 1.6 years. It is not like that. So we can go for number of years as a number of months. We can change our formula. That will be okay. Rate of interest is always in a fractional form, right? 13.5, 14.5, 10.5, 6.76. These are the rate of interest. So these are the rate of interest is in a fractional form. So why I am telling is that because P and these are integer variables, R is a fractional, we can say a float variable, we can say a real variable. So now P and R, if we calculate them together divide by 100, the value will be stored in SI. So what is SI? SI should be declared. SI should be declared as like if we calculate it, the value will be real numbers. We can say float numbers. So SI should be declared as a float. So start. This is the program. First C program. So you can see the program is written like I've programmed it like it written itself. I'm going to explain this program to you, the whole program, and then we'll go for the programming. So the first thing is that the first line indicate hash include in a bracketed code stdio.h. So stdio.h is the standard input output header file. .h is called as a header file. These are available inside the C compiler, and in that header file I will show you what is inside that header file. Header file has a functions. So as you are maybe a future programmer, hope if you be a good programmer, you itself write all the header files. So that will be useful for the other users like nowadays we are the users. So hash include stdio.h, it contains all the standard input outputs functions. Then hash include conio.h, it is console input output.h header file, console input output. Integer main. So integer main is the first line of the code, we can say a program, and it is a body of the program. Above, these are the header files. Below, integer main is the main function, and within the curly braces we have a body of the program, we can say a logic of the program. As like the rule says that before going to write the program we need to declare the variables. So that's why I have like wasted your time in explaining that what is P, what is N, what is R, what is SI. So P and N we have said these are the variable, and the value in that variable will be integers like P has suppose 1 lakh, N has suppose 2 years, 4 years, 3 years, 4 years. So this will be integer variables. So it will be declared like integer int small p comma n semicolon. Semicolon is a statement terminator. Float. Rate of interest is in a fractional form. So it is real number float float r comma si. So si in here it will be capital S small I. I have written there is a capital I deliberately to tell you that this is wrong. So it should be S small I. Then we'll give the values to it. Suppose the P has a value 10,000. Why I give a 10,000? Why not 1 lakh? Why not 2 lakh? Because I have explained you that integer of 16-bit compiler is having a range minus 32,768 to plus 32,767. So 1 lakh is greater than that. So that's why I have written there a 10,000. Then n is equal to 4. Number of years are 4. Rate of interest 13.5. And then we are going to calculate SI. So float, where I have written S capital I, it should be a small I. That actually the variable name should be taken at the formula. So SI is equal to PNR divided by 100, as like your program given in the first page, formula given in the first page is written over there, and statement terminator. So star indicate that the P and R, they will get multiplied by each other. The bracket will indicate that the first this multiplication will take place, and then after it there will be a division. So this is simple BODMAS rule. I will explain all these things in a later section. Then finally we have to print the value, as like I have printed hello word or welcome to the my class word in the previous lecture. We have to print the value of SI. So printf is the syntax to print the value of SI. In a double quote, we have to write percentage %f. So percentage %f indicate that the value of SI is to be printed is a float value. So it should be printed like a float. So why it is percentage %f? Dennis Ritchie knows why it is written at the percentage %f. But percentage %f indicate that the SI having a value at that location is a float value. So printf should print the value of SI as a float. So percentage %f double quote comma SI. So SI will print the value of the formula, means after the calculating the P and R multiplication divided by 100, so SI will be there. So I think if you do the calculation, 13.5 multiplied by 4 multiplied by 10,000, 5400, so 5,400, it will be the simple interest that is on a 10,000 sum, or we can say a principal amount. And finally we have a return 0 statement, so that will indicate that this function will return 0. So the things will comes within the what we call as a programming section. So integer main is the main function. It is always in there. The header files are there. Which header files to use for which function, I will explain in a like programming sections. And this is the body of the what we call as a program, where the first thing that we are declaring the variable. So according to our input, we are declaring the variables as int, float. Then we are putting the values in there by assigning the values like p is equal to 10,000. It is assigned to p, and it is taken in a formula si is equal to pnr divided by 100, and we are printing the value of it. So let's head towards the programming section. So let's start our programming session. Just double click on dev compiler. So before proceeding to the creating a new project and giving you the training on the first program of the C, just go into the tools editor option. Here there are editors option settings. Go to fonts and create the size so that will be visible to us or we are compatible with it. Then there is an option called as autosave. So enable editor autosave, so it will automatically get saved. We no need to press Ctrl S for each and every time. So I am creating it for enable editor save. and it is saving us almost for each minute. Or you can just uncheck it and you can save it according to your need by pressing the Ctrl S. Okay, so I'm saying okay in here. So we'll go in a file, new, in that a project, empty project. We needed C project as well. I'm going to give the name to this C project as I'm going to print the name of mine on a console. So we can say a name print. Okay, so it will go where we need to store our program. So I'm going in a folder where we have created a C language folder. In that 18 July folder was there. I'm going to create the 20 July folder, that is today. Double click on it, so it will inside the 21 July, and I'm going to create a folder here, name print. So the habit of writing the name to the project as well as to the file, it will be very useful in near future when you are finding your last projects. So just save it. Look at the one is now looking very bigger one. Here the name print project, it contains entitled to, this is the text file. So we have to save it again as we need a .c file. So I'm going to save it. It is by default goes into that particular folder. So name.c, I can save it, or the extension is already been there. You can see the c source file .c. Just save it, so it becomes a name.c. Now the first statement hash include what we need, stdio.h int men is the compulsory function, that is main function in case of a C language, and then in curly bracket the body of the program. So here almost the tab is there. It is a free form language, you can start writing anywhere. It will execute statement according to the program's flow, means your logic. Now I want to print my name, so the function for that is printf inside bracket double quotes, and then I have to write my name is Professor Madhukar Walunj. Statement terminator is must, and as we are writing int in here, what we need to write return 0, so that this main function, if it has some control transfers, then it will return the value 0. So I'm going to control S for the saving. As you know, for the execute, we need to go execute compile. So if there are some errors, mistakes, it will show us there are 0 error, 0 warning, and then I am going to press F10, that is for run. So at running, it will show us my name is Professor Madhukar Walunj is printed over here, and it is written with the value 0. Okay, suppose if we skip the return statement in here, this is the comment, what we can say, a comment double forward slash, it will be like a comment to comment a particular statement. So if I am doing control S, again execute compile, after the compilation we are going to run it. So you'll see here the return value with 32. So it is a good practice to write if we have int main function, so we should skip return 0 as a statement after the end of all statement within this main function. So it will return us only value called as a 0. So I've already told you that this is useful when we have a control transfer instructions. Now just observe the program. I have said that there are 32 keywords, and with this course, you are going to understand what these keywords are. So look at here, line int, it is keyword, written, it is keyword. So you'll definitely understand what these keywords are and where, when we are going to use it. So at the end of the course, you will understand all the 32 keywords that is available in a C language. Now, in case of this function, or we can say a program, if I have to write print something on, means I have to print that welcome to my class statement terminator. I'm going to control S, save it, for execute, compile. After the compilation, we are going to run it. So you can see here the my name is there, and immediate after there is printf statements line, or that I am printing it, welcome to my class. But this is not a good way to show the result. So what we need to introduce the new line character. So new line character is indicated like this. So in this way, if I execute it, run it, you will see that my name is, the first line is there, and new line will give us the next line. This is very much readable. Then there is another one thing, that the tab character, we can say /t, we can have a space inside it. If I am going to compile it, so when I am doing the compilation, it automatically gets saved. There is no need to save it, it is automatically gets saved. So look at here, the tab is introduced in here. So slash line in here, and in here it will give us the line in next, and the /t give us the tab line for the output. Okay, so these are the things that are important when you are doing programming, and you have to show the result that is very much what we call as a uh, good, or we can say readable one. Okay, so now we head towards the part where we have started with the our first program, where we are calculating a simple interest. So in that, I have declared the principal total, we can say principal amount as integer function, and number of years as integer function, and then float, which values, rate of interest and SI. So capital S is there, so we are going to use capital SI in every part where we need simple interest or SI. Now what we need is that we need to calculate the simple interest as PNR divided by 100. So for that purpose we need a value. So integer P is assigned, this is data type, the variable is P. P is the variable which can assign different values, and the P variable has a data type called as int. Okay, so I am assigning P a value called 10,000, and the number of years, 4 years suppose. R, rate of interest is equal to 13.5, the personal loans interest suppose, and we have to calculate SI. So in here the R is a float, a real number, that's why I am going to give him a 13.5. Though I give them 13, it will take 13.0000. So finally we have to give the formula. SI is equal to, in bracket, P star N star R divided by 100, semicolon, statement terminator, and we have to print. What do we have to print? The value of SI. So how we are going to print it? So printing the value is very simple. In double quote, you have to write the float number. So which is float number? SI. SI is the float number. So you have to write the float. And if you have to print the float, percentage F is to be written. And which value we have to print? It is given by SI. So the float is for the float value of which value? SI. This is the syntax. The percentage, Dennis Ritchie knows why he used percentage, but the syntax is like this. And after it, semicolon. Okay, so control S, Then I can use function F9 for compilation and F10 for result. You can see 5,400 for 4 years the interest is calculated. Okay, so here the return value with 11 is also there. So what we need to do is that we should stick with a return 0 statement, so that return 0 will be not there. Okay, so this is the way to print the simple interest in case of this particular uh, first program in C. Now, why we need the comment line in this particular program? Because if you are doing some sort of developing some sort of software and you have some team, so you have to write in here like this is a formulae for SI. So they will understand that the comment written over there, these are not going to get executed, but it will indicate that this is the formula and printed SI. So they will understand what you are doing in the program. When your shift is over, another programmer will come and it will understand that what you are trying to do with your development, or we can say the programming things. Now we can modify this program if you have to calculate some sort of EMI. So for that purpose, we have to calculate the total amount you are going to pay to the bank. That is nothing but principal amount plus simple interest. And finally, we are going to calculate EMI, that is equal to total divided by. So if you have to calculate per month EMI, so 4 years, 12 months in a 1 year, so 48 months. So you can calculate per quarter, per 3 months, per 6 months, and per year as well. And finally, we are going to print. So print F the statement, double quote. What we have to print? EMI. So now SI, simple interest. Here the SI is in float, right? And the total, it is calculated as a P plus SI. So P is in int, SI is a float. So we have to take a total as a float. And then the total is here, total divided by 48. The EMI is also in a float. So in a float, we have to go and declare which new variable, or we can say the variable that is used, we have to declare in here. And in case of printf, again we are printing a float percentage f, outside it comma, and we have to print EMI. Okay, so we don't know what kind of EMI it is, so we need to print another one statement in here. So print f, just a statement, EMI for each month is equal. And if we are printing SI in here, so we need to introduce slash n, so it will be a new line. Control S. I'm going to execute compile it, and then okay, what is the problem in here? The statement terminator is missing, so kept in mind to give a statement terminator after each line. Compilation, results error 0 warning 0, and run it. Look at here, 5400 was simple interest, and EMI for each month. EMI for each month is 320 rupees. So if you have to introduce some sort of sign in here, so we can have RS in here, and again I know that I am going to directly compile and run it. I know that there will be no error at all. So this is RS 320.83, that will be EMI per month on this particular simple interest. So this is the way you can develop your own logic. Or just in this particular case, we need some mathematics and some programming skills so that we can print the EMI of each and every month. So this is the way the first program is. The exercises are given, so solve the exercises so that you will be very familiar with this language. So let's head towards the last part of this particular lecture. So here are some exercises for you. If you do these exercises, you will definitely learn the C language. So you are 90% programmer if you solve these exercises. So the first exercise is that I have already done. Write a program to write your name on console. So you can take the help of the video to print your name on the console. You can use app or you can go for DevCP. Then the second exercise is that we have to write a program to calculate area of a circle. It is similar to like calculate a simple interest. So in this case, area of circle is pi r square. So pi is having value 3.1428. You have to declare it. Then the r. So pi means it will be not in C. So you have to write actual by writing pi for pi equal to 3.1428. R value, you have to take the R value as a radius value. You can take it as, and then area of a circle, pi into R into R. So why we don't have any exponentiation in this particular? Because it is absent. It is, the language is developed by only a single state, a single man, single person. So I think he misses it. But we can have the exponentiation function. We can create our own function that will be in the recent or upcoming videos. Then the third, nowadays so many calculations are going on temperature. So a program to convert degree Celsius into Fahrenheit. So the formula is there. Fahrenheit is equal to Celsius into 9.5, 9 divided by 5 plus 32. So brackets are there. So keep closer look at the brackets, because if you miss one bracket, it will lead us to a wrong results. Then the vice versa, program to convert degree Fahrenheit into degree Celsius. The formula is given here. You can try these 4 exercises. You can mail me on my email ID. You can post in the comment section. If you have any problem, you can ask me. Okay, so let's end our discussion with the concluding remark. As if we proceed in a C language programming, what we have seen basically, there are C instructions. So there are basically 3 types of instructions in C. One is called type declaration instruction to declare the types of variables used in a C program. So we have seen that the principal amount is type declaration sentence. We are declaring its type as int. In case of simple interest, we are declaring it type as a float. Then arithmetic instruction to perform arithmetic operations between constants and variables. So we need arithmetic instruction. And the last type of instruction is a control instruction. So this will control the sequence of execution of various statements in a C programs. So we have seen that the statements are written like line by line, then they execute in that way only. If we need a transfer of function, we need to understand the transfer control functions, or we can say statements, that is in upcoming videos. So in case of a mathematic instructions to effectively develop a C program, so we need to understand the rules that are used for implicit conversion of the floating point and integer values in C. Like an example, for an arithmetic operation between an integer and integer always yields an integer result. That is the very basic, what we can say, the questions on mathematics. So if we have 10 divided by 2, it will be 5. So integer will leads integer. Operation in between real and real will also yield a real result, like 10.0 divided by 2.0, it will be lead 5.0. But in case of integer and real, it will always yields a real result. So 10.0 divided by 2, it will lead 5.0. Or if we take 10 as integer and 2.0 as float, or we can say real, it will be result will be real. So these are the 3 things that you have to keep in mind when you are doing some sort of mathematical instructions. So in case of mathematical instruction, there are some hierarchy of operations. So if we have a statement, I have deliberately used brackets in there. Let's look at example 2 into x minus 3 into y. So it will corresponding to 2x separate minus 3y separate, or 2 separate and x minus 3y. So what it should be? So the priority is there in case of this mathematics operations. The first priority is given to the multiplication, division, and modulo division. So we'll see that modulo division part later on. Then the second priority is given to the addition, subtraction, and last for the assignment. So again, though the priority is there, but if the parenthesis is there that we have used in our program, so if parenthesis is there, so the parenthesis will execute first. Suppose if the parenthesis, there is again innermost parenthesis, or we can say there are several parentheses are there. So why, what we need to understand is that the innermost parenthesis will be performed first, followed by the second innermost, and so on. But we always remember that the pair of parentheses, it will leads to a imbalance, or we can say a careless imbalance. So we need to understand that when we are writing a C language, when we are opening the bracket, we should close the bracket as well, and then inside it we should write our statements. So there will be no mismatch in the left and right parenthesis, and it will be very useful for you for not having any kind of errors inside it. Here is an example of the hierarchy operation. You can see here the stepwise evaluation of the expression. So you can see 3 divided by 2 into 4 plus 3 divided by 8 plus 3. So 3 divided by 2, it will be executed first. It is started from the equal marks. Then 1 into 4, it will be executed. Then 3 divided by 8 will be executed. Then 4 plus 0 is equal to 4 executed plus 3. And finally, we'll have a t equal to 7. So this is the way the hierarchy operation is. So it will start from the what we can say left of our side to the right of our side, or we can say right of the computer side towards the left of the computer side. So this is the way the hierarchy of operations are. Thank you for patience listening this lecture. So what is next? Next we are going to see the control instruction in C. So see you at next video. Thank you.